Do I
Either
want
way,
to do intro
it's
and then
top
get
of
into it?
mind. We're not.
We never intro.
Oh, we're live, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, we are.
Yes, I am flying to Seattle at 6 p.m. out of Jackson Hole tomorrow, and then arriving at 10:30 and waking up and racing.
The last time I raced Seattle, I stared at your back for a long time.
I hate this stupid course, and I have done it. I don't even know how many times I've had it. Who wants to run through a horse field?
I do. I want to run through a horse
That's
field.
true. That's true. And Robert, I mean, a lot of faster flat people are going, flatlanders, and
Yes.
that probably will be problematic.
So this is one of the only courses that I feel comes alive with rain.
Mm-hmm.
That is true, only because it turns into just a massive mud pit.
That's the only time I want to run through a horse field. Otherwise, it's just ankle rolling city. If it's soft, at least it's just like a swamp, or a bog.
And to be totally honest, what you want to do. Sorry, we have an extra guest today. Huckleberry is joining us because he had major knee surgery recently.
It's rough.
Yeah,
I don't recall you having a dog named Huckleberry. You have another dog.
I have a big black
bigger dog. Okay, that's what I thought.
I have two dogs. I have a giant hell beast named Watson, and then Huckleberry is the sport chihuahua who recently had knee surgery, and they don't have patellar tracts. So they went in basically with a grinder and shaved a patellar tract and then rotated his tibia. So
wow.
It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing what they can do with power tools.
Doggy deductible for the year, Ian? Is that a thing? Yeah,
we did not have pet insurance, but we would have met it. Yes,
I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, Seattle is nice that way, where it does come alive. But I strained my calf in Costa Rica, and then have been dealing with that. And then when I came back, I had a friend set the FKT on the Grand Teton, and I tried to keep up with him on the downhill and forgot to tape my ankles, and 2 minutes in, rolled my ankle. So he said it, but I did not prep well enough.
There's a couple things I want to get into, Kirk.
Oh,
do you have a jumping off point, or do we just kick into something?
I always feel like it's entertaining to chat with Ian. So Ian is here, and he's going to talk about an event. Okay, and we're gonna do that, but we're not doing that for a while. We wanna chat with Ian first. Is that cool, Ian?
I'm good with it. You guys know me. I can bounce between topics, and I didn't take my ADHD meds today, so let's just rally.
So Bracken, you go, brother.
All right. So I just have. It's a two-parter. All right. So we're starting off deep, but first of all, why are you not in the results, or why were you in the results and then out? I haven't heard a good explanation yet.
That's because no one really knows. I guess we're just diving in.
Yeah. And if it's political, you don't have to go into it.
It's not.
I can cut this out.
It's not political. It's more embarrassing, but we're just going to share away because I have come to terms with it, and I would like to be open. I finished 10th. And that's with a lot of penalties and conversations on course. I finished the race and had to do an appeal because I had lost all 3 bands, but I had felt that I didn't necessarily fail one of the obstacles the referees called me on a fail for. During that interaction, we're not going to just do hypotheticals. I used some swear words with the referee, and I told him his call was bullshit. And then I continued on, and apparently one other individual, I was frustrated at that point, and then I made a silly error later on, and I think I said the F word out loud in general. And I was eventually DQ'd because of unsportsmanlike behavior.
Is this historic?
What do you mean?
Like trust
How
gates?
many? No, in terms of just like historic. How many OCR athletes have we had DQ'd for unsportsmanlike behavior? We had a Hyrox one recently.
But there was another individual last year in Belgium who also was DQ'd for unsportsmanlike behavior, but it's not extremely high to my knowledge. But I was very frustrated at the time. However, also believe that getting outside perspectives of the story, I think it was the correct call, even though I don't like it.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I would like the sport to go. I don't necessarily think swearing should be an automatic DQ, but making a higher level or a higher standard for sport is important.
Okay. Well, thank you for that clarity. So
So yeah.
part 2 of that is actually a compliment and a question. Because as anyone who's listened to your episode on here before or knows you in general, you are a high altitude liver and trainer, and you perform extremely well in the mountains, especially when altitude's involved. But the flat, fast, technical, speed-based OCR style races, whether it's Savage or anything with World Obstacle, is not your bread and butter, but you keep showing up to them because for whatever reason. And I kind of respect that. But last year it didn't go well for you. And this year you crossed the line, I think in 9th, and had a top 10 performance. So congratulations. I was very impressed. Typically we don't get faster and better at flat when we get older.
Yeah.
But B, why? What led to this?
Very different courses. The race still was at a little bit of altitude. I think it was at like 1,000 meters or like 3,500 feet roughly, I think. So some advantage there. Temperature actually plays a larger role than flat for me. I don't handle heat overly well. And Belgium last year was quite warm compared to Costa Rica, which is surprising but advantageous. Also, more elevation gain and a little bit more technical. So I'll handle technical really well, but just straight flat running is more of a challenge for me. This didn't have a ton of that. Also, I would say I just went in better prepared this year. Not necessarily peak fitness by any means, and we'll see how the rest of championship season goes. But went in relaxed and comfortable and confident. And I think, looking at my time, where I finished, and then everything else that happened, I probably could have been near where Logan's time was. And he also had a timing error that never got resolved. So he was actually a minute and a half faster and went off course for probably 30 seconds to a minute. So he technically could have podiumed.
Wow.
Had things gone different. Some of the course markings were challenging. Yeah, I would say very different race course. Also, depth of field at this one was a little bit less than European. And last year I was more timid on obstacles, whereas this year I felt a lot more confident. After doing Belgium, I went in and realized my obstacle game was not great, and then worked really hard and went into OCRWC with a lot of practice, and that confidence still carried over. Like, I'm very happy with obstacles and confident now. Confident enough to miss bells in World Championships, but that it's always just a fun mistake you get to keep repeating throughout the years.
We've all missed a bell.
I've missed a couple, and that's not great though, because normally I say you'll miss one and never miss it again, but give it a few years of not missing a bell, and then you miss one, and now I won't miss one for a while, at least a few years.
I missed 2.
Yeah.
I've never missed one. I'm not an idiot.
You've never missed a bell?
No.
I don't believe that.
I missed a monkey bar.
I've missed it also on monkey bars. Jacksonville,
Jacksonville for me.
2018.
Ian, are you finishing out your year? I'm assuming Seattle and then OCRWC in Mammoth. Is that your plan?
Yeah, and then also national championships in Dalton, Georgia for USA OCR,
which we will get to.
I'm not yet, but that is currently the plan for the rest of the year. Is Seattle this weekend, OCRWC in Mammoth, and then Dalton, Georgia, national champs. But the calf is not great, and training has been inconsistent. So
that's what I actually wanted to jump in with you. So we're all coaches here. We all deal with plenty of athletes, and at times the lower extremity, lower leg situation pops up. And every time an athlete says my Achilles or my calf, I go, oh, shit. Because
Achilles is way easier. Tendons
really,
and
is that
ligaments are
okay?
much easier to deal with than
Well,
muscle strains.
let's just talk about it though, because you and I, and I think you go back further with Bracken, but you and I were kind of in the same waters at the same time, sort of, at least for a year or two in the series. We raced around each other a lot and
Hmm.
all of that. But the first time I raced against you of note, you were stretching out your calves mid-course in West Virginia, and that's where I passed you, and it was only due because of calf cramping. Then I know historically you've dealt with calf issues and Achilles issues years past. Obviously, there's still something going on there. And I have some athletes who I'm like thinking of right now. It's just like it's their Achilles heel for a reason, right? And so talk us through
French.
that. Talk us through that. I'm interested to hear like your thoughts in general on the lower leg overuse soft tissue issues.
Yeah, I mean, well, that is a very broad
Yes.
question, Kirk, and
Go.
I will just start rambling.
Please.
Um, there is a lot you can do to bulletproof your calves or lower limbs in general, and that's going to be strength training, just standard, and that's going to be both anterior and posterior, and you're also going to want to hit soleus, both gastrocs heads, anterior tib, as well as posterior tib, and essentially get your lower limb as rock solid as you can. There's a lot of things you can do. Balance is great. Balance combined with strength. And then making sure a lot of people will only do like straight leg stuff or only do bent knee stuff. And those, as us three know, hit different muscle groups. So you want to make sure you are doing both of those on both balancing and strength training. Um,
Can I jump in real quick though on something? Do you
yes.
think this is sort of a direction the conversation has gone with somebody else? Is this like a like the lower leg stuff, like, or any injury that keeps coming back up over time? It could be anything. Do you feel like it's a bad card that you have been drawn and it's like, nothing I can do about it, got it from my mama and my dad, like it's genetics? Or, and I say this example, like I was training somebody the other day, and I know you like to think about these things. You're a cerebral, right? So I know you'll give us something here. But I have a woman who I was working with, who I've been working with, and she's had 2 meniscus surgeries, and she's got arthritis in her knees, and we're the exact same age, and she runs 0 miles per week and always have. And yet her knees are complete garbage, and she's barely used them in her life, right? And then me, who's run on average 50-mile weeks, and I'm 41, knock on wood, I'd never had a knee issue, right? And a lot of you guys haven't either. So I'm just curious your thoughts on like, is it the card you've been dealt, or is that BS? And then
It's
continue down
both.
your train of thought. Yeah.
It's both. I mean, some people are naturally predisposed to have like weaker tendons and ligaments and overall things. There are just some people who have genetically better soft tissue. And then there's also the aspect where our body adapts to stress and stimulus. If you don't apply stress and stimulus to something, it's not going to change, and your body's going to be like, "Oh, we don't need this. We're going to put minimal resources into it, and it doesn't need to be strong." So your meniscus is not going to have much load, and yes, it is more of a lubricating tissue, but it also hasn't been beat up like you've done.
Bracken's
Um,
case, huh? Hasn't used it, sitting around.
yeah, exactly.
Mine's sitting in a jar.
Did they put a synthetic one in? I don't listen to you guys that often, so I have no idea.
No, I have 40% of each one left.
Oh, that's plenty. Um, but I mean, the human body responds to stress. So if you don't stress something, it's not going to change. There's a reason people atrophy if they are injured or in coma or whatever. So that is a large aspect. And if you also stress something beyond what it's capable of at the time, that's where you see injuries, especially overuse injuries. People don't progressively load things, people don't do the strength training necessary or ramp too fast, any of these items. So, yes, there's a genetic component. I would argue that the training aspect and resistance training and just progressive load in general is more influential than the genetics, though.
So you said tendons and ligaments are easier and simpler than muscles. And I agree. I believe tendons and ligaments scare me more because of the cost of what can go wrong, but muscles worry me more because you never really know how they're actually responding and doing. Where tendons and ligaments are probably about the most linear thing in the human body, muscles are not. But I want to hear you dive into that.
Yeah, and that's more on the recovery sense.
Right.
Because training sense, tendons and ligaments are a bitch. They take a lot longer to adapt, and the load needs to be pretty high for them to start adapting the way you want them to do. Where muscles are really great because they adapt quickly, they get stronger, they can heal kind of quick. But they can also progress too fast, and then that's where you'll get tendon issues. Like you can strength train, and if you don't strength train the tendons or take the necessary resources like collagen or other things to load the tendon, they fall behind the muscle, and that's when you'll see like tendinopathy issues. Uh, on the recovery side of things, they're pretty straightforward for tendons and ligaments, where we have isometrics and eccentrics, and those are great. We have a lot of science, and you do that, and they get better quickly. And you can still strength train and gain strength while you're recovering. Whereas muscles, if you get a muscle strain, you can't piss that thing off. You got to be nice to it. You can't overuse it, and it's really easy to overuse. Or put into end ranges of motion that it doesn't like, and that breaks down more muscle fiber tissue that you then have to repair. So that's why I would say I like tendons and ligaments more for recovery aspect. But if you go too far on tendon and ligament, like a full or partial rupture, that's when it gets bad news bears. That would be more than, well, I mean, if you fully tear a calf muscle, that's also bad. So just don't get really injured is the summation. Just like baby injuries.
But you're right in that ligaments and tendons crave loading in order to heal, and muscles crave rest in order to heal. But where you can proactively scale up your load, it's very difficult to proactively rest things in time when you come back correctly. So, this calf, how bad did you hurt it in Costa Rica?
I thought I got compartment syndrome originally because it was like a decent amount of inflammation, and then Nicole mentioned the word compartment syndrome, and my brain just obviously did the latch on to whatever you hear. Then I came back and saw my PT, and we're like, no, we think you just strained it. It isn't bad, but it's like I can't train right now, so we're gonna KT tape it up and tape up the ankles, and I have I have a good level of fitness, but we'll see how it shakes out on Saturday.
So I had that ish where I couldn't train much, but Kirk and I went down to Jacksonville for a series race, and it went at mile 1.
Oh yeah,
And it was
it'll be
soon as we touched slop, soon as we hit something non-linear, and you're approaching the West Coast version of that Jacksonville course. So what are your thoughts heading into Seattle?
I feel great, Jack Bracken. How'd you know? I'm going in with an open mindset of not fully tearing it and making it progressively worse. Like I'm going to warm up really well. I have some good tape options for it. I'm maximizing recovery leading in, so really no running and just full rest. And hoping it doesn't rain. Which I think it might be raining.
It's a double-edged sword.
And cold.
Because if it doesn't rain, you get Sean Roberts and Nick Mask, who just are going to run cross country. And if it does rain, you get your calf.
Yes, but I also run through sloppy terrain better than most people. So yeah, we'll see.
Horse apiece.
Well, I mean, last weekend I did do an 8-hour adventure race on it, so it's not fully dead. But
I'm doing no running. I'm maximizing recovery. Other than the 8-hour adventure race.
Yeah, I mean, we only did 5 miles on foot. Most of it was mountain biking, but it wasn't too bad, and it wasn't high intensity running. It was like jogging here and there.
Gotcha.
And it felt really good for that, surprisingly. So I was happy about it.
This adventure
I'm
race
not
thing.
recommending this to most people, by the way. Do what I say, not what I do.
So I have 2 questions regarding your racing, actually, and I want your thoughts on something. And Bracken, I know you and the Race Brain guys, who I don't join anymore, talk about this stuff more than we do on our podcast. So this is probably redundancy for you, but I'm here with Ian, so I'm going to take advantage of this. Okay. So again, if we have some Race Brain crossover listeners, I'm sure you've discussed, but I feel like we haven't seen you race as much, at least compared to the series years, right? Where we all showed up to every series race and all the championships. Those days are done and gone. Maybe they'll resurface. Let's hope. But I want you to chat out the differences because we all used to follow the Spartan series, and we're going to talk a bit of OCR today with the event down in Georgia. But you have the Spartan series, which dug itself a bit of a hole here. We all know it. Some agree more strongly than others, but everybody sort of agrees still. And then we have what I'm just going to label as OCR, the other events, right? Because we kind of looked at it that way. There's Savage and some other things, but you've gravitated towards the OCR purist events. This is your first Spartan race in Seattle in quite a while, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to think about it. But what I'm asking is, so now that we have some perspective, why step away from Spartan for a bit and then help us because me and Bracken have stepped away from OCR a bit. I haven't raced an OCR race in a few years. Not sure if I will again or not. Bracken, I don't know where you stand with it, but help us understand the difference. Like we have these OCR world races and regional races and all these and these other things. And then we have Spartan, which I feel like we classically all knew. You just walk me through why you're drawn to one more recently than the other and like the differences so people understand.
Yeah, I mean, my viewpoint on Spartan personally was just the same thing that kind of the rest of the pros in the sport had, which was payment was a nightmare slash not paying people or timeliness. The interaction with the staff, especially higher up, was challenging and strained. They didn't necessarily respect the athletes. There was a lot of challenging relationship there, and then we all were hoping they would change, and it hasn't. They still owe me money. They still owe a number of people money.
Me as well.
And yeah, exactly. That's one of the major driving factors I got into USA OCR in terms of like trying to help get an established, regulated, federated sport where we have oversight or some oversight into brands. Like if you're going to host a race with prize money, put it in an escrow account, or like there are repercussions or things like that. Just for prize money example, have standards. So instead of just making arbitrary calls at the end of the race when Woodsy uses a truss, like we know what that time penalty is ahead of time, and there's an appeal process. Like he could have gone through and appealed that in like federated events. So that was kind of my reason for stepping away, and it also got to the point where it wasn't hard. Like it was mostly just a cross country race. The obstacles weren't challenging. Occasionally there'd be a carry that would slow people down, but it was always the same. And I've always been drawn to more challenging rigs, or just like kind of what you call the true or pure OCR type thing. And that's what I've enjoyed. Is you do have to have skill on obstacles in order to perform better. So OCRWC from Adventure East / now Spartan has always been one of the higher standards, and then Savage and some of the other ones that are more obstacle based combined with the running.
Well, I think, and to piggyback that, I'm asking for selfish reasons. I would say a large sector of what I think of like not the super old OCR crew, Bracken can speak to that, but I'm going to call it the old OCR crew. And it was saturated, and we were 23 people deep in one race who had all landed on a series podium at one point. Like we had some really stacked races, and now they are a shell of that. But what I'm asking is really, I was all in on Spartan. I ran a few other small races, but when Spartan fizzled, I just threw my hands in the air. I was like, F it, I'm going to go pursue other things with competition that excite me. And I never really entertained diving into the other OCR options, right? I didn't really want to. Other things excited me because Spartan fizzled. That's where I thought the competition was. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And so people like me who are like, I'm not interested in the FISO. I'm not interested in OCRWC, maybe that one, but this event in Georgia, like why should anybody in the old Spartan guard or the current Spartan listeners, which are half our listener base is probably still OCR, I would say core OCR enthusiasts, like why seek these other events? Like what's the appeal? What can people expect that are coming from a Spartan background? We got to sell them on why it makes sense to look elsewhere and why it's valuable, I think, because I need to hear it too.
Yeah, I mean, the sport is in a decline right now. It's in a recession. And I think we've seen some numbers from like ORM has been posting, Obstacle Racing Media has been posting some numbers of showing increase attendance at races, which is great, but the high end is still very small. And one of the major things of that is coverage, sponsors, or actually the main driving factors, those is just straight money, but also that comes with viewership and live coverage, as well as sponsors coming in, which is kind of paired with coverage. And we just aren't seeing the money and draw for those elite athletes. And yes, we're getting some, but like this weekend in Seattle, the prize purse is only 3 deep, whereas we've had series races previously where the series race itself was deeper than that.
20 at one point, wasn't it?
I think that may have been the overall series, but yeah, like
maybe, yeah.
That's what,
North American champs went at least through 10 at one point, if not deeper.
Yes. And now we have a top 3 situation. So that is going to cut down for more people. And just, it's not, it's the same. And it's all, with it being the same, it's also the same bullshit everyone has dealt with for so long. They know what to expect. They know the goods, the bads. They also know the challenges that come with it. Like, a lot of people don't trust Spartan to pay anymore. Right. And with this new race, we're trying to create a race that will have good coverage. This is an actual national federated championship. So this year was for USATF was the Olympic trials, but when it's not an Olympic year, you will become the national champion of your sport. And that is not a private event company just labeling it that because they can. This is a federation, and you can have that title. Same with the FISO stuff. It is the only, and this is kind of semantics, it is the only world championship that holds credence outside of private companies. A lot of the private companies just, I mean, how many world championships? That's a Jack Bauer question, but there's a lot. There's a world championship for tying your shoes in Spartan race at different distances. Who knows? And that's great, but they don't have oversight from actual governing bodies. It's just the private company, and they can do whatever they want. They could literally just say Bracken won it and didn't even go. And
I'm on board.
That's legal.
Yeah. And we've talked about this a bit on Race Brain, but we're in an interesting spot in the sport where historically the most popular races were respected as the world championships. And now we have a governing body who came up from a small group and has formed a federation and said, we have a world championship. And ultimately the community kind of decides what they view as the world championship of OCR. And it was always Spartan.
Mm-hmm.
And then OCR Worlds came along, and for a while they were kind of getting close to equal playing field in terms of what the community thought of as the world championship. And then Spartan went to Abu Dhabi, and this new federation is kind of doing their thing. And so how do you think the court of public opinion will be swayed to adopt this federation? Because there is it's a federated event. But if people don't care,
So
like they govern very little, but if they do adopt it, then suddenly there is power there, and then it grows, and now we can say all the great things about what a federation can apply. So how do you think that this is going to be won?
Yes, so there's actually two perspectives that I want to highlight on this one, and we'll start at the world level and drop down. But the U.S. itself is tricky, since we're kind of isolated. We don't have a lot of Canadian races, we don't have a lot of Mexico or South American races. Whereas you look at Europe, they have all of these different countries and federations, and they have very much recognized the world championships as kind of the world championships. They've gotten on board with it. The Dutch, Netherlands, like a lot of those top athletes, and we see that in the depth of competition, especially last year in Belgium and this year. I would say the depth of international competition at those races were higher than even some of like the heyday Spartan races. And they may not have had the top tier caliber of athletes, such as like when the US was very dominant in the sport. US and Canada, we got to always include Ryan and Lindsay. And that's really cool to see. So Europe is taking that. A lot of the US doesn't know much about World Obstacle or USA OCR and kind of federations in general. And that's partly because the way national federations are structured in the US, and we're going to get a little into the weeds here. I apologize. Many countries, their national federations are funded by their national governments. So they get money and more exposure and can do things. Whereas in the US, it's just a nonprofit, and we have to look for sponsors on our own, and bring in that income through memberships and other means. So it's not a nationally funded organization, which is a big challenge in the US. And until you get big enough, there's a lot of things that go into that. But kind of segueing into a plug, we are doing a big fundraising push right now. So if you want to donate to USA OCR, you can search Give Butter USA OCR, and that'll take you to our donation page. And we're trying to get some money right now for national championships, as well as just hiring someone full time to help staffing.
I'm going to wedge in a question real quick. I know I can see Bracken's chambering one up too with his body position.
I just spouted a lot of information, so I figured I wasn't going to just keep rolling.
Bracken, I feel like when you have a question, you see how your back arm is like cocked back like that. Is that one of your tells, or am I making that up?
I think it's always, I'm just on this bar stool, and every few seconds I just
gotta move.
Switch. And I had a couple calls before this too. And if I'm here for too long, I just tighten through everything. So this is a stretch. I do.
Okay.
Slouch for a bit.
You look like you had one chambered up. I've been told by our content creator that I move too much. I'm too wiggly and I fidget, right? I need to adjust. I'm working on it. I don't know if you notice how still I've been, but Zoom, you're welcome. Anyways, Mike, that's our social media guy. My question.
Disturbingly still. You've been too still. Yeah. He's going to say move a little bit.
Move like a psychopath.
Yeah, you're now a serial killer.
Yeah.
My question is...
He's sizing up your skin as you speak.
I have a small head. It wouldn't fit.
Will I wear it well? Skin stretches. All right. My dad is a taxidermist. I have ways.
Oh, my goodness. I'm going to dehydrate myself so it won't stretch.
All right, salt will do. All right. My question was, amongst the accomplished OCR athletes, and I'm gonna claim ignorance on this. Like, I want you to tell me like how this federation was even created, why it holds any weight, so to speak, all of that. But first question is, you and Nicole Miracle stand out as like the accomplished athletes in the US who have like taken this under your wing. I'm assuming as a passion project, you're not getting rich off of this. Like, why you and why Nicole? Like, why did you decide to make this your baby, and why are you passionate about continuing to grow this sport? I don't know the answers to these things, and I'm very curious. So why Nicole? Why take it under the wing? Why take the responsibility? And I admire that, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's someone's got to do it.
Okay.
And to be very clear, I have not made any money off of this and have spent money and so much time.
Hmm.
But you kind of answered it with your question. I am passionate about OCR. I do want to see it thrive. I was there when there was tons of money, and it was great for high end athletes. And I think we can get back to a level of that, maybe not just contracts being thrown out willy nilly for anyone who kind of raced. Um, but I love the Olympics and I love standardized sport. My goal isn't necessarily to get OCR in the Olympics, but my goal and USA OCR's goal is to create safe and fair sport in the US, just for the athletes, for the race brands to grow and prosper that aspect of the sport. And I think that's the next direction OCR needed to go, or we just have a whole bunch of other private companies fighting each other, especially creating monopolies like Spartan is getting pretty darn close to that. They own Tough Mudder, they own Adventury now. Uh, that's never good for the sport, especially with an organization that has done what they've done. And you can infer from that statement based on everyone's previous experience and conversations.
Is there any bit of a stick it to them chip on your shoulder? Let's create something better because they've slighted us at all. And I know you're about to race one of their series races here coming up, but is there any
No,
sentiment of that at all?
it's not.
No.
I'm too tired and frustrated to get like that. Maybe a few years ago, but I'm I've become so not disheartened, just aware of reality that I'm just not,
Disenchanted.
yes, disenchanted with the magic of that I just, I don't have the energy or time to put it, like that's not feeding from what I'm doing. I just want to create a good event and good organization so people can benefit from it.
Hmm.
There is the selfish aspect that I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to race for like the USA national team for OCR. That is something that is definitely in there, and that's going to be a larger driving factor than sticking it to Spartan.
It's a good answer. I was curious. And
Yeah, no,
the
I mean that's a great
the
question because we've all had our experiences and understanding where that brand is.
I think Bracken, I don't know if you feel this way, Bracken and Ian. You refresh me. You is your real true intro to the endurance space was near when you found OCR and Spartan as well, right? Like they're kind of one and the same to you. You didn't pursue the roads singularly for years or trail race, right? They kind of happened at the same time, didn't they? So like your
Yeah,
origin of sport is almost OCR. It's not being a pure runner, although you are a pure runner, correct? So there
kind
has to be
of.
that element.
My intro into endurance athletics was mountain bike racing in high school.
Okay.
Just like the recreational beer league up on the local mountain, in which I was pretty
Hmm.
good. Um, but growing up, I played team sports, and my sports were soccer, hockey, and tennis. And then I picked up running late in college, just recreationally, and then was decent at it. Didn't do any races, but was rock climbing at the time. And then combining those two of passions of like some upper body strength and technique with running, I did a local mud run. So that I really don't have a pure runner background, but my knowledge base is in running, and I would say I like running a lot, like a lot.
Okay. I could go ahead, Bracken. I could see how like there'd also be like my passion always falls right back to running. Like my default is like, okay, Kurt, go chase a half marathon or a 5K or go pick the local trail races when like I'm up against a decision and I'm thinking, well, that's my origin of sport. And if your origin of like adult competitive sport is like OCR, I could see why it will find a way for Ian. That's what I'm saying. I'm just like trying to make sense of it. That's all.
Yeah, but I've also kind of been the individual who's always been involved in organizations or clubs or things like that, and being on, I have that experience as well. So student council in high school, or president of the nerd club for my engineering major in college, things along those lines. So having that bureaucratic side of things with an understanding of the sport itself as well as sport as a whole. So like qualification process for different sports, things along those lines. I naturally gravitated towards USA OCR and getting that up and running again.
Well, I think you guys both identified what made this issue difficult for everyone who came in to OCR anytime around the zenith of the sport, which is that for many people, this is what made them love running. Like I was a college runner, but I didn't like running. I liked competing and I needed to be on a team, but I didn't grow to love running until OCR, because OCR introduced me to the trails and the mountains. And suddenly I realized I really love running, but I never would have found that. And then we just fell in love with the process and all that. But when Spartan did their thing and when the protest didn't take and all that, like we really had two options. It was double down like Ian, or the option which I chose, which was I care about this so much that I can't even fight this fight anymore. Like you said, it's too exhausting.
Yeah.
I sat in on 2 meetings with you. You invited me. And
Bracken,
as soon as I
you're
started
still
hearing,
more than welcome to join, and we would love to have you because I know your passion rivals my own.
yeah, and that was my problem. I couldn't. I found that I couldn't be dispassionate and analytical. As soon as I saw behaviors of anyone in a meeting that reflected anything that Spartan had done, I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's going to negatively impact my life. I have been someone who will fight the fight as long as it's worth fighting. And I determined that for me, I did not want to fight the fight anymore. And you stood the line and said, I'm going to fight this fight. And you took it on. And I respect you for that. And like we just took different sides of the same coin. And I had to just distance myself from OCR because I loved it too much to half-ass my involvement in it.
It is exhausting. And I am
Yeah.
slightly jealous of your approach probably most days of the week, given how much time
It's not
and energy
necessarily
I put
the
into it.
right.
It's
It's not necessarily the right for the sport. I think the people like us have an obligation to improve it. But I looked around and said, my kids are starting their own sports. I do not need to be on calls that put me in a bad mood in the evenings. But then I get on a podcast with Matt B. Davis or something. And I rant for 90 minutes because I care too much. And then I'd be like, nope, I'm not going on the show again for another year. I can't do this. It's like going back to your ex who you know won't ever truly love you, but they have just enough of those qualities that they get you. And I can't be God anymore. I need to stay away.
Does that happen to you a lot,
self-care
Bracken?
is important.
Yeah. No. This is the closest. Spartan's my only ex in my life.
Well,
I married the first person I was ever serious about.
yeah.
That's my level of commitment. And Spartan was
That's
that.
a great
version,
representation.
What about?
especially
Yeah.
Never mind. I just put my
Anyway, my point is Ian stayed behind to fight and he's doing the thing. It doesn't matter if I agree or don't agree. That's not why we bring people on the podcast. If people notice, we almost never challenge people on our podcast because the time to do that is elsewhere. On here, it's to give people a platform and do their thing and support the pieces we can support. And I support everything Ian's doing.
Bracken, with this information, I think I'm just going to send you like a weekly text from now and being like, hey, this is what's going on. Just to press the button and be the X. And just I'm going to put on a nice dress and just flaunt myself a little for you. And see if we can really back into this relationship.
The good news for me is, as everyone will attest, texts do not hit home with me. They will not get through.
Kirk, what's the best way to communicate with him? Like a voice message, just a video chat?
Right here. I have to be seeing you.
You got to get him on the phone. I sent him messages this weekend, and I'm his business partner, right? We rely on each other quite heavily. It was almost 48 hours before I got a response from like Friday morning to Saturday night on something very simple. And don't you self-admittedly respond to me quicker? Me and your wife are probably in your top 2, your family as well, but it's
2 and 1.
still
Yeah.
2 and 1. Still took him 2 days. So good luck is what I'm saying.
I don't necessarily need him to respond. I just need him to ingest information, and then it'll like hit the tipping point, and he'll be right back into that toxic relationship.
What was your train of thought? You guys were going somewhere good with that.
Anyway,
And then
we're not
somebody
entirely
ruined
sure.
it.
This is what happens when you guys have me on. We'll have great conversations, but who the hell knows what topic?
So
we'll
I do
talk
have a
about.
question though.
Okay.
And I said we don't generally challenge people on here, and that's not it. Like, it doesn't matter. This isn't an organizational inquest, but I do have a very like deep-seated question that I can't answer for myself. And it comes up every Olympic cycle and every world championship cycle. When we see these events sampled into the Olympics or highlighted in the Olympics that we don't see very often, they kind of mirror OCR. They're niche sports. They have diehard following, and some of them work at the Olympic level and some of them just don't. And what I keep coming back to is, does OCR work
Yes.
as
Well, so
a clean, scripted, standardized sport, or is OCR breakdancing, and that the glory of it is rooted in chaos and unpredictability, and the more we try to tame it, the more we kill what it was? And I go back and forth every cycle. What is your take?
So I, unfortunately, being the style of athlete I am in OCR, so distance like 3K and 15K, I don't necessarily. I would love it to work. I don't know if it will, just because of viewership. The 100-meter event is absolutely what the people want. Like, it is. It's pretty electric watching them fly through that course, and it's a good atmosphere. It's a good community. It's very viewer friendly. So that standard 100-meter course would do well in the Olympics.
But is it OCR? Like, in as that it's it, or is it
That I am not the
straight line ninja warrior?
I am not the person who defines OCR.
Right. What the inception of OCR, whether it's Mr. Mouse overseas or whether it's Spartan, is a version of that. The visceralness that captured the attention of these athletes who dedicated their lives to train for it. Can that be replicated?
No,
in a vacuum?
Not in.
And I'm not leading you. I generally wrestle with this myself.
I understand that you're not trying to force me into an answer. I think it would be the sponsors' roles to communicate that story. The Olympics can do some, but I don't think getting the whole understanding and the depth and grit, quote unquote, of what athletes go through and the origins of the sport, I don't necessarily that'll be there. But I do think the 3K is getting close, and especially with kind of the variants of rigs, and with at the World Championships in Belgium and Costa Rica, we did get a lot more introduction into like European style obstacle course races, which the US traditionally has not done well because we don't really do much of that. And I do feel that is great. I don't know if the 15K will ever get to that point because it doesn't have a deep-rooted history like some of the longer distance events. So like the 10,000 or the 5,000 or like the half marathon or marathon, where those are just so ancient that they'll always be there and the runners will follow it. It's hard for people to watch an hour or hour and a half race and stay engaged.
People watch biathlon. It's boring as heck.
I love biathlon.
I love biathlon.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying.
This is also
nerds.
This is also
we're not the intended audience.
Yeah, we're. I mean, guns are.
I'm saying for the masses, it's boring as heck. I think that somebody who turns on their TV, and I'm not like a big like rah Olympics, the OCR. That's the thing. I don't really care, to be honest. But like the average person who turns on their TV, if they see somebody running through mud and doing crazy crap on an obstacle, are more likely to watch that than they watch somebody cross country skiing and then shooting something they can't even really visual. I feel like just taking a person at home on the couch. Do you guys not
Yeah.
agree?
I would agree, but I still think out of that, compared with like gymnastics, they're going to switch to gymnastics. Like if all three
Right.
of those are simultaneous, they're not going to seek out that unless they're an individual from that world or an endurance athlete. So like endurance athletes love watching endurance
There. It's interesting.
and
Well,
pentathletes.
Sure.
I think there's a disconnect though in the understanding of what Olympics does for a sport, because if we watch where viewership does, like the I'm gonna blank on the name of it, but the sprint kayaking, I don't remember the name of it,
Mhm.
where it's over in like 30 seconds, was engrossing, and people watched it, and the sport did not grow due to it. Like there are events that people will watch on TV and then not care about again for 4 years. So like viewership at the Olympics does not equate healthy, successful sport.
That brings me into more challenging questions that we shouldn't dive into, but is that like
No.
cultural and societal based, or is that because the sport doesn't capitalize on it?
I don't know. But what I'm saying is that if you put all versions of OCR on the screen, 100% the viewership would drive towards 100 meter.
Yeah.
That's what would capture people's attention, but it wouldn't get them off the couch to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
And the sport may not grow at all, other than the little blip of sponsorship it would incur every time it's on TV. But the old Spartan show got people to the events, but it was a non-starter at the Olympic level.
Yeah.
And so like what is there a middle ground, or is it always going to be the best version of us that we can put out there actually isn't us? It's Ninja Warrior.
I'm
I
going to look
think
something
there,
up, you guys. What, by the way, while you're talking, so if I seem disengaged, I'm going to go look up a couple views on some things on YouTube. I'm just going to do some comparatives, okay? You keep
yeah,
talking.
that's great. I would say that there is a version that of like quote Spartan old school NBC style events can be portrayed in the same fashion. Like we had,
Yes, because mountain biking can.
yeah, exactly, and that's just it. Is we had larger, like NBC was doing the coverage, so they had people who had different camera angles. They were able to do it well, and we are getting there, and it's still a growth, but like it's challenging for like OCR Report to put on a production that rivals NBC Sports.
Impossible.
Yes.
You need their budget to put
Budget, equipment, there's a lot going on. And not saying anything against OCR Report. It's fantastic. They're still doing it. It's just we don't have that budget and everything else that goes along with it. And I think essentially you can still have that grit feeling on the course. And you can still have mud pits and barbed wire and things like that, and then just overlay it with some of the more challenging obstacles you see in Europe that are now making their way into the US on a larger level, like Savage Race or USA OCR National Champs. And combining those, I think, would be really great, especially for individuals who like OCR but also want to see the sport grow. So I believe, and it's at the international level, they don't necessarily want to water it down. They're just trying to regulate it, and that's the same with at the international level and the national level. There's just a lot of politics and bureaucracy and challenges at the international level. But for us at the national level, we're just trying to create a nice, safe, federated sport. An example of this would be, and I don't know how much coverage there was for Costa Rica. There was like a 3-minute river section that was one of the craziest river sections I've ever done. Like car-sized boulders all the way down to like large dog-sized boulders just in this decently flowing river that had no visibility and then there was like 4 to 5 foot drops in it. It was not something you would expect to see in an Olympic event just because of how crazy it was, but it still was at a world championship. And that made me really happy because they didn't just neuter it.
Yeah. Are we talking crazier than Nashville?
Yes.
Yeah,
This was the craziest
that.
river section I had ever done in an OCR race. I've done some in my own life, but like this was moving at speed with like someone right on your tail or ahead of you and just pushing and just being like, well, hope I'm not jumping onto a boulder and snapping my tib fib. It was pretty cool. And you're in a jungle in Costa Rica. So that potential is there. And then to showcase that on a national or international televised level would be wondrous.
Okay, I did a little research here while we were chatting. I just wanted to compare like Spartan world champ or series views compared to, I pulled up the fencing gold medal round from the Olympics. Now, granted, the Spartan races have been on YouTube for much longer, so you have to take that into account, of course. I looked up the kayaking and the fencing versus like what Spartan race, just from like a buy-in standpoint, right? Like who's consuming this? So take a stab. How many views on the first one that pops up? 2019 Lake Tahoe World Champs. How many views on YouTube do you think? Take a guess.
I think you even have to go further back for the heyday.
You do?
2019. Yeah, I would say like
Say 70.
70,000.
452,000 views.
What?
I was wrong.
2019 West Virginia North American Champs. 319,000 views.
West Virginia had over 300,000 views. Okay.
319. You take Utah that same year, 159,000 views. 108, the world champs in Abu Dhabi, 108,000 views. That's post-COVID. Anyways, there's more, but when I looked back,
that number itself, 108 versus, I mean, yes, there's a large time difference, but yeah.
So, and I remember seeing, I'm positive that some of those old world champs, 2015, 16, 17, had over 1 million views. I remember seeing it was one and change, Spartan Race World Championships. Okay, fencing. This is the gold medal women's round, right? This is the best of the best. How many views on the gold medal NBC Sports? What's your guess? Anybody?
80,000.
Oh, under 1,000.
This one surprised me. No, 541,000.
Oh,
Whoa.
Yep.
That's this year.
Yep. And then the second video is 213,000. Okay, the second most watched video I'm finding from this year. Okay. Now I go to the kayaking, the kayak cross, or what is it called? Kayak cross. Take a stab at this. Some of these final rounds they have on YouTube. I mean, I'm setting you guys up here, but
the semifinals was the best in my opinion because I did watch kayak cross, and the semifinal race was very exciting.
Based on my excitement, over 1 million.
I'm on bracket.
Highest video I could find is 185,000, and most 130, 46,000.
How is
40,000
more views than kayak cross?
Because it's been around a while longer. But I think what I'm getting at, okay, I could do this with all these niche sports, right? It's just interesting that like the sport had the buy-in clearly at some point, more so than some of these other sports that are being broadcast on an NBC channel. It's shoved to us on Peacock. These people are seeing it pop up auto-curated on their YouTube feeds because it's Olympic season and they click on it. And yet in its day, it was and I'm not saying this is even Olympics related, but I'm saying it's like somebody like peed on the Spartan race fire and it fizzled out when it was like, it was contending these obscure sports that are at the Olympics.
Well, that person was Spartan.
Yeah, I was going to say, we know who did that.
Well, I just think, I'm just like, I didn't know these stats. It's just interesting to see like the viewership was quite high and people had buy-in more so than some of these niche Olympic sports, yet it probably never will make it, at least in the endurance side, right? The longer races. And I just find all that just like, worthy, right? Those are, I think, glaring numbers if you ask me.
Yeah.
What do you do with them? I don't know.
I think the big question is, why didn't those numbers shift to the sport of OCR? Why did the business of Spartan act as a gatekeeper to OCR? And I can't answer that unless the answer is that there wasn't a comparable product that people felt comfortable stepping into the arena with. Like, oh, I understand bucket carries. I understand barbed wire. I understand mountains. Spartan was one of the only mountainous OCR based companies because mountains are very expensive to rent. And I wonder if it was just a comfort level thing that didn't exist or an epic scale that didn't exist. But that's a lot of people watching that or participating that didn't then move over and try the next version.
I'd be one of
I-
them.
I think I have the answer is in kind of the core of their marketing, which was the grit aspect. And I don't think a lot of other companies marketed the grit aspect. So, like, this is super hard and rough or whatever, as well as anyone can do it. So, those two pieces really got to the broader audience. Whereas I think some of the other more pure OCR stuff is this we have more they market pure OCR. So we have challenging rigs, we have
Yeah.
all of these things that we have mandatory obstacle completion, all of those different things. That's what they're marketing. And
That's fair.
and to go a step further, just because I'm going to keep talking about USA OCR national champs, we are marketing to the people who are competitive, who do want that upper level of competition. And that's why federations exist, is to build essentially the best national team they can to represent at international levels, as well as federate the sport and grow the sport in your own country. USA OCR does not exist for individuals who want to go run an open, non-competitive heat. We want it for mostly the professionals, because that's where the money is, but also like the competition who may not necessarily be professionals, the age group athletes, as well as develop from children's perspective. So like you look at all the youth development programs and coming up to create athletes who then go to showcase on international stages.
It's an interesting point. I suppose if you had to pick like a AI generated image or the most Google searched image of what a Savage or a European OCR event would be, it'd be someone hanging from an obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
And a Spartan race would be someone like flashing a hang loose, carrying something up a mountain. Spartan made it cool to power hike.
Yeah, or just crawling under barbed wire, looking tough.
Yeah, it wasn't about running.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It was, you could take an epic looking picture while standing still. And that meant anyone could do it. Their courses were designed that if you walked the whole thing, you felt accomplished. And I don't know if that piece exists outside of them.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, it could. You just would need to shift your marketing.
Mm-hmm.
We should
just different perspectives.
So let's talk about Georgia and the event coming up. I don't even know. I forget what month it's in. I think it's in October, right? It's not that far out. And
1 month from today.
So let's talk about the event, and let's talk about why you should go and what's in it for the athlete. Where's the buy-in going to come from somebody that this isn't on their current radar? So what is the event? Give us the whole rundown, where, what, when, why, how, and then tell people why this is a worthwhile event to attend.
Absolutely. Do you think people understand what USA OCR is at this point, or should we do a quick recap?
There.
Because
I need you to tell me, because I don't know fully.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. USA OCR is United States of America Obstacle Course Racing. It is the national governing body for obstacle course racing in the U.S. It is a nonprofit, non-government funded entity, and we are focused on creating safe and fair sport in the U.S. That means drug testing. That means standardized rules, so you don't have people hanging from the ropes, for example, on Spartan races where there's an actual rig implement below it. Using obstacles as intended, and then safe and insurance side of things, athletes are covered and race brands are covered if they do get injured.
How did this get formed? How did this USA OCR even get the governing body? Who spearheaded that? How did it start? And just because I want to give you a timestamp, so I have to roll at 2:30, so we have 24 minutes still, so we have plenty of time. But just
That's
so we stay on track, yeah. So
understood.
how did
I,
this
I
even
will
start?
stay focused.
No, I'm not saying for you. I'm just saying like that's our restraint today. So I want to make sure we get all the important stuff in.
Rock and roll.
Yeah.
USA OCR has gone through several iterations. And they have not survived throughout the years, except for the title of USA OCR and maybe the logo or something. I don't actually know the previous versions. This organization was created mostly from Jason Stanley, who is our president or board chair, myself, and I'm the vice chair, and then also chair of the competitions committee, and Stacy Stam, who is my previous partner, and she is our board secretary. And we regrew it from the ground up with our knowledge of sport, as well as the understanding of we wanted to avoid a lot of what the previous organization had done and created a sour taste in many individuals' mouths from how it interacted with the community and put on races and things like that. And we filed the nonprofit status. We redid the bylaws. All of the boring bureaucratic stuff we did because that's what you need to have a functioning organization. And there's still things that we're working on, like we needed a really good finance officer. So if anyone wants to, I mean, we have one, but everyone's just overworked and we're all volunteers. So we're looking to hire someone, thus the fundraising campaign we're doing. And it was out of the want and kind of where the direction was going with the sport at the international level, as well as I felt and the other individuals who, as the board grew, we all feel that organized sport is important, especially at the high end level. So started the time and energy and got moving forward. Last year kind of was one of our main years where we accomplished things, and that was really sending a team to world championships, as well as just getting a large foundation. And this year we're doing our first, for this organization's first national championships. There have been previous national championships under USAOCR, and those were again different versions. So this one is a brand new one. And then we're looking to grow members and continue our impact in the sport with race sanctioning, which is essentially our stamp of approval. This is a safe and fair race. They follow these guidelines. They're meeting good insurance policies. The rig isn't going to collapse on you, or you're not going to jump into water where there's just a large metal object that's going to impale your kneecap, things like that. And then having repercussions if they don't meet those. Safer for the athlete, safer for the sport, safer for the race brand. And that's where we are now. And moving into the national championships, this is people's chance to become national champion. An actual national champion, not a private company. There will be technical officials who are trained. We're hoping to have a good amount of prize money, which isn't necessarily the standard for national championships, because normally it's just the title and qualifying for the national team. And some years for Olympics, that's great. This is a heavily weighted qualifying race for the national team for 2025. And the main races on the calendar for international events for the national team for 2025 would be, I think, the Pan Am Championships, which I don't know the dates for, and then World Obstacles World Championship in Sweden, which Sweden seems pretty dope.
When is that?
I don't know if they've published dates, but I know it's going to be probably August or September again. As well as all of those kind of federated things, it's also going to be a badass race. Phoenix Race is the company we're using to have it put on. And the race director, Julie, as well as USAOCR, have reached out to a number of race brands across the US and are having them bring in obstacles very similar to old school OCRWC adventure. So we're going to have a high density of rigs and challenging obstacles, as well as the terrain is going, it from the images I've seen, is going to be really cool. It's going to be in the fall in Dalton, Georgia. Carpet, I think it's like the carpet capital of the US is the phrasing for it, for the area. So if you need a good carpet, you can grab one while you're there. But lovely deciduous trees, changing colors, and then it is kind of on hilly terrain. Not mountainous terrain, kind of like you'd see in the Rockies, but more East Coast, up and down hillsides, things like that. And it will have that lovely OCR aspect and energy that OCRWC has with kind of the integrated brands, everyone supporting this event. And that's what I'm excited for a number of reasons, but that would be a really big draw. One thing that people should know for this is it will have the international standard of 3 bands. So it is not mandatory obstacle completion, but if you fail an obstacle, you remove one of your bands. And then at the end of the race, there is a penalty loop, most likely going to be some form of a carry, not overly long, but also not overly short. And those will be finished right before the finish line, much like as you see in biathlon. If you fail 3 obstacles, you will get 3 or more obstacles, you will get a did not complete status for your race finish. So you can fail 2 and do 2 penalty loops and get your bands back at the very end of the race, essentially.
What's the exact date of the race?
October 12th and 13th in Dalton, Georgia.
And the race distances? Oh, you're just going to go with it.
Yep, are the international standard as well as kind of the national standard that federations are having, which is the 3-kilometer distance and the 15-kilometer distance. So
you don't have to answer this question. Oh,
just
sorry.
Under 2 miles and 9 miles for those of us in the States.
What is this event? Now, I know you're a volunteer, so you're not getting paid. I'm assuming most aren't, but there's logistics and getting obstacles here and the whole venue. What is, because this sounds very grassroots, right? Like nobody's making money on this for the, really, I guess for the most part. Like what does this cost? What do you have to raise? Like what is an event as a whole going to cost without, of course there's going to be entry fees that hopefully compensate for that and all of that. But like, what does it cost? Like, do you have an idea to put on an event like this?
So, I mean, we're using Phoenix Race, so they're doing most of the heavy lifting, and they, depending on registrations and everything, they will be making money.
Okay.
But we are also getting a cut of the registrations, and that money is going directly back into prize money. And we are not keeping it, so it's going back to prize money. It's going back to the athletes. They already have a lot of the equipment and obstacles, so it's not, I mean, in short, Kurt, I don't know the answer to this. But they already have a lot of the obstacles, and they've worked out some deals with local hotels and things like that. So the other race brands are also coming in, and we're not necessarily paying them to come in. They are doing it because they want to see the sport grow. A lot of the companies that we've talked to are excited that this is happening. They want to see the sport progress. They want to create a good race. It's good for brand awareness for them as well. So like advertising and letting them know they were a part of it, as well as just continuing to keep the sport alive in this aspect.
Okay. I just always thought because Spartan Race, for example, has pulled how many races? Do you think, Bracken, I guess you both knew in the heyday, they have maybe half the offerings they used to? Is that fair?
They might even have more.
Oh.
But less paid races.
Okay. Well,
they kept expanding like crazy.
Yeah, I think they pulled, so it's not going to be as many as 2018 or 2019. It's still a good amount, though.
Yeah, it is a good amount.
I would probably say they have like 75 to 85% of like peak races, and then paid races is like 5%. Because it used to be any Spartan race had $100 or $500 for the winner.
5.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think I was just the reason I thought because I know they pulled races, like they pulled the Minnesota race, they pulled the Chicago race, as we knew it. They pulled like a lot of these Midwest races, and I assume it's in direct relation to registration numbers and then logistics. Like you start thinking about a company that has to send how many semis across at least hundreds, if not thousands of miles with all the equipment and a minimum of a 10-man build team and whatever the other overhead is of this, and you start adding up the cost of the obstacles and the materials themselves and the insurance, and oh my god, and then you think like, well, no wonder businesses struggled for a couple of years in COVID. Like the overhead is ridiculous. They had no revenue coming in, and I'm not justifying them not paying people or anything, but what I'm getting at is like putting on a race is expensive. So I had wondered how like a USAOCR non for profits, like small potatoes to start, sort of like grassroots project. Like, how can you even afford that? And it sounds like a lot of people are donating resources and times to a cause they care about. It's the only way it's possible.
Exactly. And I mean,
Okay.
eventually, we're not in this for the money. No one is in USAOCR to like make tons of money because that's not what national federations do, at least not ones that should be doing what they're doing. I'm sure you get corrupt money things all over the case. Like, I don't know specifics, but that does happen. And we've seen it at like international levels with IOC and things like that, is money changes hands, not in necessarily the most, I don't know, correct form, or right form. But uh, yeah, everyone's putting in time, effort, and energy, and resources to try and make this happen and have it be successful. And that's our goal. That's why we need people to sign up. Is like we're trying to the race itself will be great. We need people there to enjoy it.
So who should sign up for this?
At the high level answer, it is elites, like pretty much any pro individual in the sport. And that's not just limited to the US. You can come from abroad. You will not make the US national team if you live in Canada, type thing. Like, you got to be a US citizen, but prize money is still up for grabs. Um, Competitive age groupers, and then also people, this is getting more down to the lower levels, anyone who enjoys the sport of OCR. Like, this is going to be one of the better races in the US this year. And a lot of people, from what I've heard just through the grapevine, is no one understood what it was or kind of the structure of it and the aspects that we do have a well-established race brand hosting it, as well as bringing in all these other races obstacles. And that's the word I really want to get out right now, is it's going to be a fun race. Yes, it is competitive, and yes, it is a national championship. And that's a huge driving factor why it's happening. But we also want to help people celebrate OCR and just go enjoy it.
Okay. And now we're a month out. That is just enough time to make noticeable difference in fitness for a specific style of race. What type of athlete will do well here, A, and B, what should people be preparing for the demands of this course? Like, it's not a Spartan race. It's not a necessarily a race that would be your normal Phoenix race. What are they needing to be ready for when they get down there?
Yes, so obstacles will be crucial to be efficient through obstacles as well as completion. And make sure you hit the damn bell. We don't have, unfortunately, in OCR, we don't have a better system of gauging completion than hitting a bell. Eventually, that's something I'll try and tackle in the future if things go well. But obstacle proficiency and efficiency throughout the course will be important. So grip strength, upper body strength, and knowing when to utilize, not like overdo it and just don't hang on an obstacle for 10 minutes when there's 2 more coming. Obviously, running and cardiovascular fitness is always important in endurance athletics. So continue that. This will be a mixed terrain course. It will not be mountainous, but I would assume probably 600 to 1800 feet of gain. So not nothing, but also, and yes, that is a big number differential. I don't know the specifics on the course right now. Some technical terrain on some steep stuff, and then also plan on running through a flat park because it is, I believe, on some mountain bike trails, or it's on an established state park. I don't remember the park name off the top of my head. It is on our website somewhere. It's going to be fall in the East Coast, so make sure your ankles are stable. And if they aren't stable, tape them properly. I know from personal experience, both not taping and taping, one of them usually goes really well.
Do you have links to any race footage or video, POV, whatever, of events that have happened at this location so people can get a read on exactly what they need to prep for?
I don't. There are some. So it is like a well viewed area. So I will just look up the name of the park. Or actually, I will send you guys that information afterwards, and you guys can post it along or something somewhere. But there is overview footage as well as just like the Google photos that show you kind of what it looks like. There is a large ridge kind of that run down it, and we're going to be along that ridge in terms of on the front side, down lower, as well as doing some stuff on the ridge as well.
Okay. What's the cost for people, and what do they get? People love to know what they're going to get.
Good stuff. We have, the cost is $250, I believe, for both 3K and 15K combined. So it's not going to break the bank. I believe the 3K is 100 and the 15K is 160. So fairly standard OCR prices, but on the lower end. More affordable than registering for Spartan Beast last minute type thing. We do have some really cool medals this year. I don't know if I'm allowed to announce them. Oh,
it's all right. Kirk and I don't care about medals.
I know that,
but the listener
does. They I will say it in this phrasing, they have an actuating component.
What airport is closest? If people are flying in, where are they going?
Atlanta, I believe, is
These are important things.
Yes, I believe Atlanta is there are closer airports, and I think it's like 2.5, 3 hour drive from Atlanta. So not crazy, but Atlanta is fairly cheap to fly into, given it's a freaking massive airport. And then lodging, you can find lodging recommendations on USA OCR as well as Phoenix Race. And there are some good deals on there, and it's not that expensive. Like lodging, I think, is like
this isn't Mammoth.
This is not Mammoth. You are not paying resort prices. We are going to the carpet capital again, so
a lot of money in carpet.
Yes, and then you do get a race shirt. Had you registered by the 1st of September, it would have been a customized jersey, but we are getting more close, so we can't, due to production and everything. However, they are nice race shirts that you can see online.
Last question here, and I'm putting you on the spot a bit. We'll call it unfair, but I don't care. Is most of our listeners don't do OCR now. We originated and we were heavily OCR focused back in 2020. We're 4.5 years into this thing, and we predominantly focus on running, and we've gained a really great running audience. It's fantastic. So, the majority of our audience has never done OCR. They maybe have not. Maybe they haven't gotten this far in the episode. I don't know. But is there an appeal or a place for this large sector of our listener base to, like, is this not the place to start, or is it welcoming if you've been curious? I'm very curious to talk to that side of our audience from your perspective.
I mean, I think if you are a runner who does full body strength training, which runners should do in general, even though you're just a standard runner. I think it would be great. I think individuals who are pure road runners may not enjoy it, but you don't know until you don't. Like, you got to go try it. If you're curious, go see what it's all about. I will say the vibe and energy at OCR races, especially something like this, is going to be a hell of a lot more welcoming than like a half marathon or marathon. Um, Trail races can be really welcoming, like Cirque Series events, which are more mountainous things out on the West Coast, have a great party vibe. But this is a community that everyone is welcome. And if you're curious about it, come try it.
All right. I'm satisfied with that. And I agree. When I first found the sport, I was just doing gym strength work and I was running. And granted, my first race was actually a Battle Frog. So I guess it was a little more legit. And I was clean through it. And I'm a natural athlete, of course. And I think a lot of listeners are. But like, that's what I was doing, strength work and running. And then I was like, oh, Battle Frog, let's go do that. And did I get humbled at points? Of course. But they had some legit obstacles there. And I found my way through them. And so, you know, me standing here with an athletic background, but saying that, I mean, I think there's others that if you're curious, you'll go to a well-organized event. You'll probably make a new friend or two because these people are annoyingly friendly. I will say that. And you'll probably feel invited and included versus like not cool enough to stand in the front couple rows at your local road race. Like, it's a very different vibe. So I can attest to those things.
Yeah, we want it to be accepting. Obviously, we are more like it is on the higher federated and competitive side of things, but we're also not trying to create a barrier for entry for individuals.
All right. Well, Bracken, what do you got? I'm satisfied.
I'll do a quick plug for myself. I'm also a running coach, and as much as I do OCR, my specialty is in running. I have 2 open spots currently, so if anyone is interested, feel free to reach out. My training is heart rate based training, and I've trained anyone from off the couch to world champions. And I love what I do, and I'm good at it. So reach out if you're interested.
You can't be advertising running services when we have running services, Ian. That's bullshit.
I know you guys make plenty of money.
I'm kidding. Totally fine.
Plenty is subjective.
That's actually true, and we could go down that rabbit hole.
Plenty has a lot of whys.
I should say, you guys know, you guys make money. How about that, Brian?
That is a thing we do.
I hope we.
Well,
all
Kirk,
do.
you asked if I'm satisfied. No, and it's because of what Ian just talked about. Not the finances, but the coaching. It's frustrating to sit here and not BS about coaching philosophy and dive. We haven't talked coaching since the double threshold phenomenon hit, and since Kipchoge's marathon record got beat, and the implications for what we do now. So yes, it is frustrating. I am not satisfied.
And if you bring up things like that,
this is what we'll do. So if you go back, I don't know when we chatted with you last, Ian, but we had one of those types of conversations where we riffed for 2+ hours.
I'm so down, guys. I'm always down.
Now's not the time. Sorry, Bracken.
No, not right now.
I know.
Not right now.
Right,
but you asked if I'm satisfied. And I'm never satisfied.
I did. So occasionally, this is more off topic, but occasionally I get some of you guys' snippets, and some of them, we could have an episode where I just like, you guys are fucking wrong. And then also an episode where I'm like, you guys, or just same episode, like I 100% agree with, and you guys should listen. Everyone should listen to these too.
Those are always interesting because we pull them and then our social guy snips them. And if we don't do a good enough job snipping them, he takes liberties.
Okay. I mean,
and there are so many times, and he does a fantastic job, and I like what he does, but there are times where you can feel him going, I'm going to stir the pot.
Context.
He does
context is important. So I'm just getting like the 5-second clip, and I'm like, what? And it could be like, you guys are just playing devil's advocate, and I missed the entire rest of the episode.
Yeah, and we also are wrong a lot too, because that's what life is. Yeah. So like, both can be true, but there's one specific episode where we did 2 truths and a lie the entire time. We did a Q&A of people's things, and we and I said, I'm going to lie several times throughout there. We're going to see who catches me. So I also have been wrong,
Well,
but sometimes we're
maybe I
intentionally
should.
misleading.
That sounds like an entertaining episode. But yeah, and Bracken, you've already
It was a
told me
good
in the
episode.
past, like, hey, reach out if like you like whatever, just for conversational stuff.
For sure.
Because I know you guys don't take it personally. Just like if you if you explain why I'm wrong, I'll say hell yeah, that's great. I learned something new today.
Well, and the only way to never be wrong is to never stray.
Yeah.
Outside of something that's really, really safe, and that's how you don't get better.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear how we're wrong. In fact, if you had a list, if you just
That's
came on
and that's
with
that'd
this
be
is how you guys are
that'd be a
wrong,
topic, or like that was it. Like I would have to go back and find who knows what. Maybe I'll just listen to all the clips.
you just go through social, create a why you're wrong, and then we can riff for 90 minutes.
I mean, I'm so down.
It'd go longer than that. All right, I'm pulling the plug on this, fellas. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Somebody has to be the party pooper, and it's Kirk DeWint.
It's always Kirk.
It's always me. So
You're
remember
just
we
too
tried
busy.
to bump you up earlier because I got to go back to the gym. So we
You
got
blamed
to
it on
an hour and a half.
Bracken.
I didn't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're like Bracken has a cut.
I'm 9. Well, maybe I did, but really, I stand by it then. Bracken,
Okay.
what do you got?
I do now. Kids are back in school,
Oh,
and I got to
see?
go pick Braden up now
Yeah.
in 18 minutes.
Well, I
Lots of
appreciate you
reasons.
guys having me on. This was, I think, really right now I'm just trying to communicate information and get people to understand what we're doing and grow it from that direction.
Ian, thanks for your time. Remind everybody where they can go to sign up for this race and learn more, and then we're out.
Yes, thank you everyone for having me. Thank you, Bracken. Thank you, Kirk. You can go to usaocr.org or Google USAOCR National Championships. Registration is on there. You can also find it through Phoenix Race. And if you have any questions about anything I brought up today, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find a bunch of different committee emails on our website, and we're happy to answer questions. We want to be transparent. We want to have the greater population understand what we do and why we do it.
Thanks again, Ian.
Thank you, guys.